All right, let's call the meeting to order. We have a really loaded agenda, as you can see, so I'm going to not waste any more time. The first bill you have before you is 2966. This is an appropriation bill to add $3.101 million to the Department of Revenue. This is for this year, FY22. This is related to starting the cannabis, medical marijuana cannabis act. Things that they need to do to start the process of collecting funds. That's what this bill does. I'll yield for questions. If there are none, motion is titled sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Next bill is also a deficit appropriation for FY22. This also relates to the Medical Cannabis Act. This is for the Department of Health. They're requesting $3.8 million, $128 and this will be something both of these agencies, by the way, will have recurring increases to their budgets, but these need to be done in this fiscal year to get them started at the Department of Health. Are there questions on the bill? No. If not, the motion is titled sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Next bill is our transfer bill. I'll go through it briefly. This is Senate Bill 2780. This is the same bill we do every year on the transfer, bringing forward all the code sections that we will need to put the budget together. Sections 1 through 6, 1 and 2 and 4 include language on the 2% set aside that we do. Section 3 is the working cash stabilization fund, or the rainy day fund as we know it. Section 5 is the distribution formula for the excess funds that we have every year that's split between a small amount, $750,000 going to the municipal revolving fund. The remainder is split with the first amounts going to the rainy day fund until it meets the statutory cap, and then the rest is going into the capital expense fund. Section 6 is the capital expense fund. Section 7, we're creating the coronavirus capital projects fund. You will remember that $162 million was allocated for the state of Mississippi. The governor, through the Department of Finance and Administration, has requested those funds be provided, and we expect to get those in September. Actually, I don't know when we're going to get them, but we're going to supposedly get a final plan in September of this year. We should receive about $162.6 million out of that. And this fund will be set up to take those dollars in for us to work on the plans that we will utilize. And those plans include things like broadband infrastructure, digital connectivity technology projects, and multi-purpose community facility projects. Section 8 of the bill is the transfer of funds from capital expense to budget contingency fund. And it also allows us, like we did a couple of sessions ago, y'all recall, we took 10% of our rainy day fund and used it to plus up the budget during the FY 2021 when the pandemic hit. So this is what we use to transfer between the various funds. I'll yield for questions if there are any. No questions. Motion has been made. Title sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Next bill on your agenda is 2778. This is the line item Appropriation Transparency Act we passed last year, and peer reviewed that. We have some issues, some things we need to clean up on it, particularly 2 items. One is we want to make clear that any funds that come from the state budgets, any funds from any state fees whatsoever would be included in those funds that would be the agencies would be required to report on, and it would exclude settlement funds and judgments, but it's all other funds that come from state support. Those agencies, if they're utilizing a private company, we've got plenty of examples. Education is probably a good example where they contract or they pay money to various agencies to provide services that we put into law. They'll have to do these reports. The second part of it is they're going to have to do quarterly reports, and they will all come to DFA. So they're not going to the particular agencies. DFA is going to be kind of the clearinghouse for any report on the expenditure of funds. And a full report will be presented to the legislature and to JLBC by October 1st, so we can take a look at how those funds are being utilized. And this is cleaning up last year's bill is what it's doing. I'll yield for questions. If there are none, motions, title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, the next few bills deal with increases in either salaries or expenses. The first one you see before you is Senate Bill 2791. It should have, hold on one second. This is the statewide officials. We're bringing forward all the code sections dealing with statewide elected officials. And, one of the issues we've had, first of all, let me just say, we've got several bills floating out there right now that deal with increases in pay. I know from a few of the other committees, we've got proposals for, well, obviously teacher pay is a big one, but we've got proposals for DA pay raises, sheriff's pay raises, clerks pay raises, assistant DAs and investigators pay raises. I'm probably forgetting a few. And last year we gave several pay raises. Y'all recall we gave pay raises up to 3% for all state employees and 1% for our IHL and community colleges. But we want to look at all of these statewide officials and see, because two things happen. One is SPB has already done a recommendation on some of the pay that statewide officials get. Two is, I deal with this, and a lot of you deal with it on a regular basis, that a lot of the agencies come particularly to me and they say, I can't hire employees because our cap on what I'm getting paid, I'm having a hard time getting employees because they just can't I can't get them at that low of a level sometimes. And it's become maddening to me that we have to kind of deal with that. We either have to, we've made an exception for one agency, we didn't have to start making exceptions for other agencies, or we got to look at what the cap pay is for the elected official and then see if those employees hopefully can fall under the person's pay. The other thing is it's got a reverse repeal in it, so this is not going anywhere until we've had an opportunity, obviously, to look at the whole budget and then discuss what would be an appropriate amount, if any, for them. And then also, as Corbin points out to me, this is going to help with the implementation of SEC squared, which is the classification and compensation system for state employees. That's a hurried and kind of general overview of that bill, and it kind of deals with we got a couple other bills behind it too that deal with pay raises. Are there questions on that measure? If not, the motion from Senator Polk is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is a bill that's been double referred. It's 2105. It is double referred from education. It deals with school board members increasing their pay. They are currently making don't hold me to the number, $67 per day or up to $2,400 per year is their full salary. Senator Norwood, you may remember exactly what it was, but I don't think they've had a pay increase since 2003. So it's been 19 years. This bill would move it up to 120. Let me get that number. I know the total amount for the year is 112, excuse me, it'd go up to either 112 per day at their choice or $4,000 a year for school board members. This is paid by the school board's budgets, not by the state. This would have to come out of their funds at the school districts. I'll yield for questions. Question, Senator Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was there any consideration given to our larger school districts? As you know, DeSoto County, we have over 35,000 students in our school district. Significantly, a lot more responsibility. Some of these that got 200 or 300 students. So I was just wondering, had you given any thought to size of the school district?
Thank you, Senator Blackwell. You and I discussed that, I think, a few years ago. In fact, I think you had a proposal to stagger the pay, and I did not in this. I just put it at a flat fee like it has always been. Although I do think there's, certainly some consideration for larger districts may have more responsibility. But oftentimes that's being handled by the staff and not by the board member. The board members are going to be looking at the same packets or the same data and information they've got to deal with on a regular basis. Obviously, their role is setting policy and not dealing with the day-to-day administration of the district. So I think when it comes to your staff, that's where the pay, and I think you would probably see that if you went around the state and polled or looked at the pay for the superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, et cetera, and all the way down, you'll see that all on the administrative level, probably most get paid. Most of the larger districts pay at a much higher level than your smaller districts, and that's probably budget related, but I did not include that in this bill. Thank you, Senator Blackwell. Other questions? If not, Senator Polk moves title sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is 2794. This is a bill that would allow for we get office expenses in the legislature. This would include every month. Currently, we do not get office expense for the months that we're in session. And that's $1,500 per month before taxes. This would include that your office expense portion of your pay would be for the months that we're in session as well.
Title sufficient do pass.
Motion is title sufficient. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2820, and I'll call on the Vice Chair, Senator Polk, to explain the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As y'all remember, these are ARPA recommendations from the ARPA subcommittee. We passed 4 bills last week that gave direct appropriations. We do have several bills that we have to have as general bills, and this is one of them. So if you will, I'll go through it quickly so we can save time. This is an act to establish the COVID-19 Hospital Expanded Capacity Program to be administered by the Department of Health to provide reimbursable grants to hospitals for rooms that they created of ICU and negative pressure beds from March 3, 2021 through the effective date of this act. On line 23, the Department of Health shall first provide reimbursable grants to hospitals for the creation of ICU beds at a maximum of $200,000 per bed. If allowable expenditures exceed the appropriation, then the department shall allocate an amount to each hospital per ICU bed prorated. Line 30, same thing with negative pressure rooms. We will reimburse for $50,000 per bed there as long as funds are available that were not used in the ICU program. And if there are more requests than money, then we will have a prorated share there. If you'll remember, we are suggesting $12 million for this program. Line 38, authorize the department to create rules and regulations to govern the administration of the program. That as long as they are allowable under the ARPA plan of 2021. The department shall not reimburse hospitals for funds expended by the Mississippi ICU Infrastructure Act, Senate Bill number 3055 of the 2020 regular session, or it will not reimburse hospitals professional fees expended in the creation of the beds. The department may maintain up to $150,000 of the funds to administer the program. All funds must meet ARPA guidelines. And then any funds left over by December 31, 2024 that have not been allocated, 60 million, up to 60 million of those funds will go to the life and health insurance fund of the state. And then if there's any money after that, which there won't be, then the remaining unobligated funds are transferred to the unemployment compensation fund. The act does have a reverse repealer of June 30, 2022. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions for Senator Polk? If not,
Title sufficient to pass.
the motion is
Committee sub.
the motion is title sufficient to pass. Committee sub. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Moving on to Senate Bill 2849. I'll call on Senator Polk again to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2849 is the DMO Tourism Grant Program for our tourism departments. It's an act to establish the COVID-19 Destination Marketing Organization Grant Program for the purpose of promoting tourism by awarding grants to destination marketing organizations from funds provided by the American Rescue Plan. If you remember, we have $30 million planned to go to this. It will be done in 10 million for 3 years for these programs. the first trunk of money, each $10 million, 75% of it, which is $7,218,361, shall be given to the DMOs or allotted to them in an amount equal to 75% of the destination marketing organization's marketing and advertising expenditures during the prior fiscal year before funding. The next 25% will be allocated to determining what their success was. In other words, achievable goals are included, and 25% of the funding will go to those who did the best job with their funding. The funds will only be used for marketing activities, and the funds will be expended before December 31, 2026, unless otherwise authorized by federal law or guidance. And DMOs receiving funds under this act shall keep and maintain records related to the expenditures. On line 133, the DMOs receiving funds shall keep and maintain records related to the expenditures and impact of marketing efforts and provide semi-annual reports to DFA, the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker, and the Department of Audit. Line 145, DMOs will give preference when available and practical to Mississippi-based companies for any new contracts entered into for marketing activities. Line 152, none of the funds provided in this section shall be used for administrative expenses to create and administer the program. The act shall stand repealed on July 1, 2026, and shall be in effect from and after passage. If there are no questions, if there are questions, we'd be glad to answer. Yes.
Any questions of Senator Polk? Any questions on the bill?
House opinion do pass. Committee sub.
Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill will be reported. All right, Senator. Turn forward, nay. Next bill is 2724. I call on Senator Polk to explain that measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill 2724 is an act to establish the Mississippi Association of Independent Colleges and Universities Infrastructure Grant Program, Act of 2022. It'll be administered by the Mississippi Department of Finance and Administration, utilizing the funds made available under the Federal Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Act and the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. As you remember, we have allotted $10 million in our recommendation for this program. One amendment I'll have in a minute is we list one of the universities that can get the funds as William Carey College. And in fact, their name has been changed to William Carey University. So in a minute, I'll be asking for that amendment. If you will look on line 21, it's the grant program under which independent colleges and universities may apply for reimbursable grants to make necessary investments in water, wastewater, stormwater, broadband, and other eligible infrastructure projects. Line 30, the colleges involved are Belhaven University, Blue Mountain College, Millsaps College, Mississippi College, Rusk College, Tougaloo College, and William Carey, and I'll change that to university. Line 33, grant program funds shall be distributed to each university and college listed this way. For every one full-time student, they will get one equivalent. For a part-time student at the university or college, they will get 1/2 point. And for the online students, they will get 1/4 point when determining the disbursement of the funds. The grants will be awarded for eligible projects in the following order: eligible water, wastewater, and stormwater projects. Next, broadband infrastructure projects. Third, capital investments for prevention, mitigation, and ventilation in congregate living facilities and other settings, and any eligible project through ARPA guidelines, guidance, rules, regulations, and any other criteria may be amended from time to time by the United States Treasury. There will be exclusion of any premium pay. The rest of the bill is pretty much standard boilerplate to ensure that we get the money to the right place. And the any funds that are not allocated by December 17th, 2024, we'll move to the correct funds that we've talked about, the overflow funds for our health insurance and for unemployment insurance. The law would take effect and would stand repealed on July 1st, 2021. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make that amendment right now, if I could.
Recognized for the amendment.
Thank you. On line 32, it's stated William Carey College. I'd like to change that to William Carey University.
Any questions on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Now I'll take questions on the bill.
Any questions on the bill as amended?
Title sufficient to pass.
My motion title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The bill be reported. Next, moving on to 2782. Senator Polk.
Excuse me just a minute. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. This is the bill for the cause of death under the Law Enforcement Officers and Firefighters Bill. We want to change and meet the federal standard of the death benefit being paid basically to those who have died from COVID that were firefighters, rural firefighters, and police officers. As you know, we have $7.5 million to make those payments. And under federal law and our law, they would be allowed to get $100,000 out of these ARPA funds. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Any questions? Senator Butler.
Just one question. What is the amount they get now?
They get 100,000 now, but what we're doing is changing it to where if you are died of COVID, that used to not be in the law, and now that'll be an approved reason for death.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Butler. Any other questions? Senator Wiggins.
He may have touched on mine, but so my understanding was there had to be a causation due to the COVID in the state law, but by doing this is making it similar to or tracking federal law, then if they get COVID, that causation element is no longer.
The federal law says that the presumption was COVID, and that's where we are. That's what we're trying to change, is the presumptive death was from COVID.
So, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill.
Thank you. Within that federal law, were police and firefighters the only people that were included in that death benefit?
Yes,
Thank
police,
you.
firefighters, and rural firefighters.
Thank you.
Senator Turner Ford. Senator Ford, would you state that one more time? I don't recall, but counsel said he would have to research it. Would that Senator Turner Ford, her question is would that be covered by workers' comp if we passed a law within the last 2 years? Do you think it was 2020 session, Senator Turner Ford? Well, we will get counsel to look at that, and certainly if you're okay with it, we can, if we can pass this out, we can take that issue up on the floor unless you feel like there's something that you need to right now, and we need to hold this one subject to call of the chair. Sure. Okay. Are there other questions that we can take up right now before I'll entertain her motion? Okay, motion from Senator Ford is hold the bill subject to call of the chair. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll hold that bill subject to call. And then we'll move on to item 12 on today's agenda, which is Mississippi Senate Bill 2822, the Mississippi Water and Wastewater Grant Program. Senator Polk, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2822 is the Mississippi Water Infrastructure Grant Program Act of 2022. It'll be administered by the Department of Environmental Quality, utilizing coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds made available under the federal ARPA Rescue Act. The Mississippi Water Infrastructure Grant Program of 2022 includes two separate programs. Number one, the Mississippi Municipal and County Water Infrastructure Grant Program. This provides reimbursable grants for a 1-to-1 match on ARPA funds awarded to a municipality or county that they spend on their water and sewer infrastructure. Any ARPA funds that a county receives provides to a municipality will also receive a 1-to-1 match. Municipalities that receive less than $1 million in the total allocation of ARPA funding would qualify for a 2-to-1 match on their ARPA funds. The total amount of all 2-to-1 matches shall not exceed $50 million. No professional fees shall be reimbursed, and these shall include fees for attorneys, engineering, surveying, and environmental studies. The program cost is $400 million. Next is the Mississippi Rural Water Infrastructure Program. It provides reimbursable grants for a 1-to-1 match for rural water associations or utility authorities with 250 or more residential meters from any source of funds. Any ARPA funds that a county provides to a rural water association or utility authority will also receive a 1-to-1 match. The maximum amount allowed is per association $2,500,000. No professional fees shall be reimbursed. They are the same professional fees mentioned earlier. The cost of this program will be $350 million. Line 88 authorizes DEQ to promulgate the rules and regulations with assistance from the Department of Health pertaining to the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. Line 95 prescribes the eligible projects under the grant program to include all eligible drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater projects eligible through ARPA. Line 141, applicants shall certify that the project and all expenditures submitted therein meet the guidelines under the ARPA rules. Line 151, 63, and 88 is DEQ shall create rules and regulations to administer the programs. They shall also create applications in a ranking system, giving greater weight to applications that are ready to begin construction within 6 months and other factors. Line 194, DEQ will certify that each project is a necessary investment in water, wastewater, or stormwater and meets the ARPA guidelines. DEQ shall issue their recommended project list to the Department of Health for its advice. Final awards will be at the discretion of the DEQ director. Line 211 provides for the multiple rounds of water and wastewater infrastructure grant projects. The first round will receive no more than 40% of the total amount of funds for each for the bucket that we have for them to spend. The second and subsequent rounds, the department must award the remaining funds. And this second round should occur no later than 6 months after the end of the first round. Grant funds shall be used prospectively and not cover the cost of debt incurred by the enactment of this program. Line 223, to create in the state treasury the fund to be able to move the funds back and forth. And there are no unobligated coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds remaining the latter of December 17, 2024. 14 days prior to that, this was including the federal in case the federal government extends the timeline on the use of funds. The DFAH shall transfer the unobligated funds from the fund by December 31, 2024, or the fund obligation deadline provided by the federal government to the following funds: $60 million to the state and school employees life and health insurance fund. And then the remaining unobligated funds would go to the unemployment compensation fund. The legislative intent in the first year, 40% of funds be obligated to projects that are ready to proceed. Reporting requirements should be submitted to the Lieutenant Governor, Speaker of the House, and Senate Appropriations Chairman and the Legislative Budget Office quarterly. Line 285, each grant recipient shall certify any project that a grant is awarded and the project is not completed by December 31, 2026, and the United States Congress does not enact an extension of that deadline, then the grant recipient will complete the project through any other funds available. Line 294 authorizes DEQ to retain not more than 2% of this fund to administer the programs. Line 297 exempts DEQ from Public Procurement Review Board when executing responsibilities specifically of this act, and that stands repealed on July 1, 2026. Sections 2 and 3 amend sections 49.2.9 and 41.315 of the Mississippi Code 1972 to gain conformity. The bill would become effective upon passage and would be repealed on July 1, 2026. Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to entertain questions.
Thank you, Senator Polk. Any questions of Senator Polk on 2822? Seeing none, Senator Hill, you recognize. You hit your mic, Senator Hill.
Right. Once all these municipalities and counties and rural waters see that what the actual process is and they begin submitting these applications, is it going to be like, I know they have to go through the criteria, but is it going to be like on a first come, first served basis? Or like, what we may run out of funds based on the amount that we put in here? That's just a question.
That's why we have two presentation periods. The first one would be for probably shovel-ready projects. That kind of, all those that are ready to go and submitted by that date, there would be no first come, first serve. It would be by rating and scoring of the project. The second 6 months, the same thing. They would all, at that point, all be taken in, rated and scored.
Okay, so the projects that are submitted on the front end, they're going to get 40%?
They can get up to 40. The total funding for that batch of projects could be up to 40% of the total.
So they're going to get the rest of it later?
No.
So that's 40% of the whole fund?
That's right.
Okay. So do we have a date in here as to when the?
That will be decided by DEQ.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Other questions? Here's Senator Polk, motions, title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill be reported. Got two more ARPA bills, and we're going to ask Senator Parks to handle the first one. Thank you. By the way, thank you, Senator Polk, for your work on ARPA and the other committee members that served on that ad hoc committee for the hard work that you've done to try to put this plan together. So two more. First one, Senate Bill 2419. I'll call on Senator Parks to explain.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, this does utilize ARPA funds. It was this bill's intended to address the nurses and respiratory therapist shortage that we've experienced during this COVID time. The bill creates a hospital nurses respiratory therapist retention loan repayment program. This provides awards to both RN, LPN, respiratory therapist. It would require you to be a resident of the state, have gainful employment for the first time, a licensed practical nurse, registered nurse, or again, a respiratory therapist that would be employed at a general acute care hospital in the state and have outstanding educational loans that you had incurred while pursuing the healthcare professional degree. It will make provisions for, it's on a first come, first served basis. It'll be handled through the State Financial Aid Board. This will make provisions for 150 nurses, 50 LPNs, 25 respiratory therapists, And the recipient can receive up to $3,000 a year for each year of employment up to 3 years. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions for Senator Parks?
If none,
Senator Hill,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
recognized.
What was the total number of employees that this loan program would service?
it's a total of 225.
225.
Mhm.
Thank you.
If
No further questions. Senator Parks, your motion.
Title sufficient to pass committee sub.
The motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill be reported. And next is Senate Bill 2721. I'll call on Senator Parker to explain the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2721 is another ARPA bill. It's actually the combination of two bills I introduced, Senate Bill 2721 and 2821, has to do with ARPA workforce. Section 1 of the bill describes the naming of the act shall be the American Rescue Plan Act, Nurse Health Science Workforce Development and Retention Act. And it will include 3 distinct programs: the Mississippi Healthcare Workforce Development Program. The second is the Mississippi Nursing Preceptor Grant Program. The third is the Mississippi Health Science Training Program. Section 2 of the bill just describes the intent of the legislature in the program. Section 3 describes Program 1, which is again the Mississippi Healthcare Workforce Development Program. Will be a program for the CJCs and IHLs to produce more nurses in the state based on seat capacity. In lines 73 through 74, the recipient is a community college or junior college or an IHL. 86 through 99 lines describe eligible expenses for this to be equipment, curricula, remote learning technology, teaching staff stipends, and coaching and mentor type of expenses. In lines 100 through 101, makes the Mississippi Department of Employment Security the fiscal agent. Money will pass through them. Then it requires detailed explanation, including the number of trainees, the average wage, and other items to be in the proposal that's submitted by the CJCs for this allocation. It puts the Office of Workforce Development, specifically Accelerate, in charge of directing the administration of the program. It allows Accelerate to retain up to 2.5% of the funds awarded for administrative purposes and requires a comprehensive report and a special fund for this program. Section 4 is Program 2 under this Workforce Act. And this is again, the Mississippi Nursing Preceptor Grant Program. I know Senator Polk worked hard on this portion of it too. And basically what this does is it will pay nurse preceptors up to an additional $2 per hour for time spent training associate degree nurses enrolled in programs at the community college. A preceptor should be a nurse who's doing extensive training of another supervised nursing student. Again, Accelerate will promulgate the rules and regulations, and grant applications must include the number of preceptors the hospital intends to provide, the premium paid to, the estimated hours, and other training provisions. This section goes on to say that the premium pay through the ARPA money shall not be subject to PERS because it's coming out of the ARPA fund. And again, requires a report back to the legislature on the program. And then finally, program number 3 is a grant program for the health science infrastructure. This is a reimbursable grant for health science training infrastructure at CJCs, IHL, and independent colleges. Health science training infrastructure means infrastructure assisting with training of nurses, doctors, paramedics, pharmacists, and public health students. Again, Accelerate will promulgate the rules and regulations. Grant applications will include a detailed description of the infrastructure cost of the project, number of students to be trained, and other information. Within the program, preference in awarding the money shall be granted to programs purported to be training doctors. It requires a report to show the effectiveness of the program and also creates a special fund for the program. Section 6 just says that Accelerate must certify with DFA on the program. And then finally, Section 7 has the same language as described moments ago by Senator Polk for the transfer of additional money that's left in the fund at the end of the program. That's a brief, quick explanation of the program that I think is going to have a tremendous impact on workforce development, particularly in the nursing program. I'll be glad to yield for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Parker. Anyone got questions, Senator Parker, on 2721? Seeing none, title sufficient, do pass. Committee sub, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Parker, for coming down here. Next bill is Senate Bill 2077. I will call on Senator Whaley to present that measure. You would just stand at the mic. Sorry, Senator Whaley. Got a full house in here. We got a full house, but we're gonna put you at the podium.
So Senate Bill 2077, what it does, it creates the Farm and Families Program that provides a dollar-to-dollar match to farmers markets or to grocery stores. Basically what it's doing, you're doing the dollar-to-dollar match with incentivizing fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's a basic explanation of what the bill does.
Senator Hill, a question.
Where's the match coming from?
Match is coming from an appropriation and federal SNAP benefits.
So the SNAP benefits are the primary benefit, but if they spend it at certain places, the legislature out of the general fund is gonna double that SNAP amount. Is that correct? 1-to-1?
You're asking me?
I'm asking whomever.
The Senate bill, if funds are put in there, would be to utilize a match on their fund, on the SNAP benefits.
So this would double the SNAP
And it's-
benefits at those participating.
And it's got to go to those, as I appreciate and understand the bill, it's got to go to those farmers markets and other locales to be utilized.
Is there a cap on how much the legislature would match?
That'll be up to you and the rest of the members of the committee and the rest of the members of the legislature.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hill. Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion is title sufficient to pass? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2158, Mississippi Groundwater Protection Trust Fund. I'll call on Senator McCon to explain this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill right here. Can you hear me? Sir? I'm loud enough? All right. This bill is to seek to modernize the Mississippi Underground Trust Fund. In reality, what it's doing is providing, currently the fund takes in 0.4% per gallon on gasoline and diesel and goes into this trust fund. The trust fund itself has about $281,000 in expenses that are coming up as a shortfall. Generally, that's been paid. The administrative costs have generally been paid by an administrative fee charged of $150 on each underground storage tank. As we've continued to move forward, those tanks are less and less around our state. This bill aims to allow the underground trust fund to be used for a certain portion for administrative costs. And those administrative costs, if you look at your bill, on, just had them here. That's going to be 72. And then if you go on down, actually in 24, 25, basically it's any overhead cost, including cleanup of contaminated sites and putting those back into groundwater facilities. That's what those funds are used for. Right now, the request is to go up to $1 million in total administrative cost. This fund, though, if you read through the statute, that money goes into the trust fund until it gets to $10 million. After $10 million, the additional fee goes into the state highway fund to be used. When it drops back to $6 million, it triggers the fund to back in to go back into underground storage tank fund. This is just giving the authority to provide and pay for those shortfall. It's expected to stay around $281 million, $300 million across each year, but they've asked to go ahead and give the authority up to $1 million because we don't know when we would have contaminations that might cost more. So that's the explanation of the bill. I would yield to questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator McCon. Any questions, Senator McCon?
Suspicion do pass.
Seeing none, motion is title sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2421. This may be the easiest one on the chart. It's just extending a repealer from this year to 2024 for physician grants, to qualified health centers. The motion is title sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2430, and I will call on Senator DeBar to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2430 it just brings the code sections forward on the public school building fund. This fund, as you know, basically about $20 million every year is diverted from sales tax into the public school building fund. Since about 2002, this money has been diverted into MAEP. This conversation about reenacting this public building fund so that the money goes back to school districts so they can improve their capital projects. The ARPA money does not cover new buildings and so forth, and this would be a grant program to allow them to have funds available to build new buildings and such. And so it just brings the code sections forward. There is a reverse repealer in it, just to keep this conversation alive as we go forward to see if we have money available to reestablish this fund separate from the MAEP. And I'll yield for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator DeBar. Any questions? Seeing or hearing none.
My motion is title sufficient, do pass committee sub.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass committee sub. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The bill be reported. Next is Senate Bill 2443, and I'll call on Senator DeBar again to explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2443 is the standalone bill that we passed earlier in the teacher pay raise bill, which removes the cap on supplements for athletic trainers, nurses, pathologists, audiologists, just in case we need a vehicle to remove this cap. If you remember, this supplement pays these people about $6,000 extra every year. And so just in case something would happen, we're keeping a vehicle alive that way that we can make sure these people get their supplements as they need. And that is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator DeBar. Any questions on this measure? Seeing or hearing none, the motion is
Title sufficient, do pass.
sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Bill be reported. Next is Senate Bill 2698. I'll call on Senator Thompson to explain the bill. Oh, I'm sorry. Was Parks going to take, I think Senator Thompson was going to handle it, but he wasn't sure he could be here, and Senator Parks was going to pinch hit, but since we've got him back in the room, he's on the spot.
All good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Senate Bill 2698 would authorize IHL to allow the University of Southern Mississippi to enter into a lease for a specific building in the Port of Gulfport for a term of up to 40 years with IHL authority. The situation is Mississippi State Port Authority owns a building that was built inside the Port of Gulfport. USM is authorized to manage that building on behalf of the Port Authority. USM, as the landlord or the lessor, would enter into a lease with the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration with NOAA to lease out the building for NOAA to occupy for a term of up to 40 years. And that's what the bill would authorize IHL to enter into that lease. That's an explanation of the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Senator Thompson? The motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Thompson. Next is Senate Bill 2735. I'll call on Senator Suber to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill will amend Code Section 4171. Currently, there's only one county in the state that is allowed to have a freestanding emergency room. And we have 11 counties in the state that do not have an emergency room. And this will allow those other 10 counties to open a freestanding emergency room. That's to be open 24/7, 7 days a week. The owner has to be a manager of a hospital currently in existence. On line 143, we're defining a freestanding emergency room as a rural emergency hospital. And basically, you have to be one of the counties that doesn't have an emergency room, and you have to be within 15 miles of a hospital that has an emergency room. We might have some additional language we might add, like to add in the, if we get out of committee, we'll get to the floor, but I think it's a great bill and that's for your support.
Thank you, Senator Suber. Senator Hill, you recognize for a question.
Looking at lines 151, 152, and 153, it said it would have to be the owner or manager of a hospital, an existing rural hospital at the time of licensure. So it would have to be somebody that already owns a rural hospital opening one of these freestanding emergency rooms in these 11 counties. Why are we limiting this to somebody that already owns a hospital and that another person that might have the capital to want to come in and do a freestanding emergency room? We're saying that they can't do that.
But I think the rationale was, I think an emergency room is not a profitable venture. And so I think it's going to have to be somebody that's associated with, because you got to have a collaboration with some other hospital or some other group to be profitable. But I mean, I'll be glad to work with you to change this later.
But I mean, there could be a hospital that's not a rural hospital that may want to do that. I'm just curious as to why we were limiting it.
Right, and I don't have any limitations on that.
Okay, just a thought. Thank you.
I think Senator Suber and maybe, I'm trying to remember who else came to see me about this bill, that there may be a few things that need to be amended on this.
Right.
If we, Senator Hill, your questions are good. I think if there are concerns you have, those are things that we can certainly address. Public health's not meeting again. All these that we're going through now are double referred bills I'm trying to get through. They are not planning to meet again. Although we could, amend it if necessary, but I think it may be because this one still has a few kinks I feel like need to be worked out rather than trying to hit one or two kinks right now and then still have to make more amendments on the floor. I have a feeling this is one that may have a few things that have to be ironed out on the floor. Is that a fair assessment, Senator Suber?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and we did have a committee sub, but there was some mix up in public health yesterday. So instead of sending this bill back, that I don't think public health's going to meet again, but we do have a committee sub that's going to, I think, clear up some of this language also.
Like any other questions, Senator Suber? Hearing none. Senator, your motion.
Title sufficient, do pass.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is Senate Bill 2818. This is simply bringing the code forward, the code sections forward for the health department. Y'all realize we've done ARP bills, we've done a medical marijuana bill, and we also have a significant amount of funding and other requirements of the Board of Health. So this is keeping their code sections alive to make whatever changes may be necessary. It is a committee sub, which does simply that. Yield for questions if there are none. Motion. Motion, title sufficient to pass. Committee sub. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is 2879. This is the Mississippi Voting Modernization Act, and I'll call on Senator Tate to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a simple bill. What this bill does is it'll provide funding through a grant program that'll be administered by the Secretary of State to allow counties to be able to receive funds, to be able to switch over to paper ballot elections at the precinct level. Money can also be awarded to pay off debt on machines if a county's already purchased them. And also money can go to things needed to conduct the election, whether it be paper ballots or software maintenance or anything like that. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions, Senator Wiggins first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure I understand section 4. I support the concept, but I just want to make sure, and I'm looking at in my county, which they use voting machines. They're happy, so to speak. And the language that says held for any election after January 24, Does that mean they're going to have to change out all their systems that they
It,
have?
it would have to be with a paper ballot and it would be.
So you're telling Jackson County that they, by their own choice, they have to go to that even though they have a system that works completely fine?
We would prefer that there be a paper trail.
Well, what if that's not their choice? Everything's working fine with them. They have computer systems. They've put in money. They've done all that. And their commission is run by election. Their election commission is run, I'm sorry, their elections are run by the election commissions that don't have problems.
The intent of the bill is try to help with the integrity of the election. And I feel the best way to do that is to make sure that we have a paper trail instead of just going based on, a digital readout.
The systems that they use have paper trails in them. They're codified, they're looked at, they're cross-checked, they're done, the papers come out and all that. So they have a paper trail that's gone.
I've worked with those systems and I know that they can very easily not keep up. The system that they have right now, the idea of having a printer housing was really an afterthought when it comes to the TSX machine. And all of the mechanics of it are just made of plastic. There's a lot of gears, and with one simple break, you could go several people voting without having any kind of paper trail.
Have we talked to the various county election commissions, including Jackson County, about their position on this?
I've talked with all the circuit clerks. I was down at the election commission conference this past week or 2 weeks ago. I mentioned that, and I talked to election commissioners in your county, and they did not voice any concerns to me about that.
And the circuit clerks are fine with this?
Yes, sir.
As an association?
As an association, and I talked with, just about every single one of them. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wiggins. Senator Turner Ford.
Or it would be an appropriation that would be administered out by the Secretary of State. Like I said earlier, that'll be a determined amount later by the.
Yeah, I'll answer that, Senator Turner Ford. We'll have to determine that. The reports I've got so far are somewhere between $10 and $15 million one-time funds. So if we end up passing this bill and do it, it'll probably be something it'll definitely be something coming from one-time funds, maybe capital expense or some other place that won't be a general fund, or it could be a general fund, but it won't be something we'll expect to have to maintain forever. This is a one-time shot. Thank you. Senator Butler first, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if towns have digital and paper trails, so they'll be fine? Is that what you're saying? If they already have the digital? And
Yes, sir. That's correct. As long as they already have where, the voter actually marks the ballot. Yes, sir, they'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Delano, you recognize.
Is this bill intended to help counties with election results so that they won't get messed up, but due to a lost thumb drive?
That is a unintensive, yes.
Yeah, this is a great bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Delano. Senator Hill, you recognize. Pass. Any other questions? Senator Hickman, you recognize.
This fund that we're setting up or allocating from, it won't be a limited fund, will it? Like every county that needs to do this, that upgrades, there'll be funds to make sure that they're able to get the upgrade and purchase equipment.
Yeah, I think, and Senator Tate can chime in here. I think what we would likely do is pay some or all of the portions that counties that need it, and some or all of the amount that would be for those counties that have just purchased machine. We've got some counties that have already moved into the system because they anticipate the changes and requirements for safe elections. And so I think that's also part of the discussion that has not been finalized on this, is how to help reimburse some of the counties that have already expended the funds to get to this point.
for your area, Senator, I know, I don't think Knoxville is switched over. The intent is to be sure that it's fully funded for Knoxville to switch over and for Kemper, which is just switched over, to help out any debt that they may have on those machines.
That's sufficient. That was my main question, to make sure that how we're determining who and what percentages or whatever are paid, because I have one county just switched, one county that hasn't. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Any other questions? If not, Senator Tate, your motion.
Title sufficient to pass, committee sub.
Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The bill be reported. Next is Senate Bill 2893. Senator Horn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2893, to give you a little background, 6 years ago in 2016, Senate Bill 2629 was passed by the legislature to allow Jackson State University to be able to enter into a public-private partnership. At that time, there were some other issues with the college's debt that needed to be, the debt reserve, its reserve fund needed to be rebuilt. And so the university put off doing this development. What it calls for is a mixed-use development along with housing. We understand that the university needs about 600 additional beds. Excuse me, they need 1,300 additional beds, and about 600 will be addressed in this development that's being called for. The reason the bill is back before us is that the property descriptions and the parcels that are going to be included in the development have changed. They've been expanded slightly. And the reason this bill is back before you is to include those additional property descriptions in the bill. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Horn. Any questions of Senator Horn on the bill? If not, is there a motion? Motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Horn. Let's skip 2673 and let's move down to 2874. I'm sorry, it's not on your agenda. 2874. Do we have copies of that? You have copies before you, members? Okay. She's pass it out. I'll wait a moment till everyone gets a copy of it. I'll tell you what, about while she's passing. I don't know. While she's passing that out, I'm gonna go back to 2673. This is a bill that's titled the Frontline Nurses and Healthcare Workers Retention Grant Program. You all know that there's been some discussion about some additional pay due to the frontline workers due to the COVID pandemic. Not sure what that vehicle looked like. I really don't have any idea how you do that and make it equitable and fair. It's not something that has come out of the ARP committee, but it is something that's been discussed. And I think what I would like to do at this time is just keep a vehicle alive. This bill has a reverse repealer. It's got code sections in it, or actually sections in it that would be pertinent to some kind of healthcare retention program, a grant program. I've got a summary of it. I don't want to delay it too long because I think that this measure is far from the finish line. But I can tell you that this is, as I stated, designed to help pay some of those frontline workers that made up to a certain level of income. But again, a lot of details to be worked out on this. If you want me to go through the explanation, I'll be happy to read through this. But if you'd rather make a motion and with the reverse repeater, which is already in it on the committee sub, any question, I'm happy to. Okay, I hear a motion, title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now back to the bill that I mentioned a moment ago, 2874, and I'll call on Senator Tate to explain the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a simple bill that it's not appropriating any money. It's not asking for any money to be appropriated anywhere. All this is doing is changing the word shall to may to allow the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience to be able to renegotiate with DFA on how they pay for the utilities. Right now, the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience is, to my knowledge, the only state museum that has to pay for all their utilities. Again, this isn't obligating anybody and it's not appropriating any money. It's simply just allowing the people at the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience to be able to renegotiate an agreement. We're happy to take any questions.
Questions for Senator Tate?
Not, I move title sufficient, do pass.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I want to go back to 2782 and call that bill back up. It's the one we held subject to call of the chair. This is the Law Enforcement Death Benefits Trust Fund bill that Senator Polk explained. Senator Turner Ford, have you received that bill? Are you satisfied? Okay. Are there any other questions on that measure? If not, Senator Polk, your motion is title sufficient, do pass. Is that a committee or title sufficient, do pass? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I'd ask the committee's indulgence for just one moment. We do have, I think, one other bill that's a committee sub. This one we've already got. Yeah. All right, Senate Bill 2685. Has that been passed out? You got a committee sub on 2685. They do have, you have it? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, this is a bill that came out of education. It's got some changes to it. That's why we've got a committee sub. It will essentially allow students, it's trying to offer incentives for schools on year-round programming for year-round school. And you'll see in the bill that it offers a certain amount of money for schools up to certain sizes. For instance, looking at section 5A, if you're a public school district with up to 5,000 enrolled students, you'd get up to $300,000 to make that switch. 5 to 10,000, you're looking at $350,000. 10 to 15, 400,000, 15 to 20, 450,000. Any school districts over 500,000 or 20,000 would get $500,000 in one-time funds to make that switch. It does have a change because the language was, it's got a daily attendance change in there instead of daily membership. In fact, I know I've talked to Senator Barr. I want to get to daily enrollment on that eventually, but we'll fight that battle another day. Any questions about this measure? Hearing none, motion is title sufficient to pass committee sub. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Hold on one more moment. Let's just, a lot of bills we've had to take up today. I'm gonna have to, yeah. We just don't get any double referred, we'll be in good shape, right? All right, I don't think there are any other bills. I'll entertain a motion. Rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.